So for now, what she wants me to do is go around the room and just talk about your activities, what kind of activities you're doing, what kind of successes you're having with those activities. And then hopefully she'll be on the call by then because I don't know what the next question is going to be. So I'll start with you, Sarah. So how are things going for you? What kind of activities are you doing as part of this class that we're more than halfway through? What's working, what's not working, that kind of thing.
Well, I am excited. So I did something a little different for the pie party just because I don't have a big client base yet. So I'm hosting an open house on Sunday. And so I was really excited. I found a little local printer that I did some invitations and sent those out. And so Sunday we're just doing like wine, cheese, pie. And then I have, I'll have a little basket of for pot pies this month. I've been doing, I really wanted pumpkin pie, but it was pumpkin pie spice, but it was sold out. So I'm doing fall spice. And so they'll get the little fall spice pot pie at that as well. And then one of my, the areas I'm working on in regards to Referral Maker and Buffini is I have a lot of addresses for my people, but where my gap is and where I'm working on is filling in to get emails and phone numbers put in there. So that is a goal of mine as well. So some of it I have it like, I might just, when I move from my spreadsheet, so I'm just trying to go through even like who I have in my phone and get that added in there. So working on that as well.
How big is your database, Sarah?
Well, so I had to call the Buffini and she said I have 140 some people, but I think in my head, I need to print out that report because, you know, in my head, you know, like some people are like couples and partners. And so like they count individually, but in my head, I don't have that many people on my list.
Okay.
Well,
even if it's cut in half, even if let's just say it was 75 couples, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
That's still very good. That's a really good start. Though you were talking about your adding people and refining it. The one thing that I think is a real important thing to understand when you're not just when you're new in the business, you pretty much your whole career, is that your database is something that needs attention constantly, like daily. You're always adding to it. You're always sometimes subtracting from it, always refining it and adding, you know, moving people up and down. So it's okay. And yeah, getting names and phone numbers and emails sometimes is a little hard, a little tricky. Obviously, it means that you have an excuse to reach out. But how you do that and in what way is how you refine what you're doing and how comfortable you are. So anyway, well, good job. I'm glad you're doing that with the Popeyes. You enjoy the Popeyes. You're creative with them. And you have your first sale closing next month, I think you said?
I do. Thank you. Yes, I have. I'm closing on December 9th with a buyer's agent. So I'm excited about that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, congratulations. How about you, Dylan? How are things going for you? Any proactive activities? How are things going?
Things are going well. As you know, I work another job. So I think I'm still learning, you know, kind of the balance and where, you know, adding in when to do some real estate things. But I think a big thing for me, and we kind of talked about it in another class, is really working on speaking up in social aspects of, and to tell people that I'm in real estate or back in real estate, because I was in Nebraska a few years ago. But so I think that's my biggest thing. And I've been doing pretty well, but there's times I walk away from a situation and I'm like, ooh, that would have been a really good time. So I think for me, like acknowledging those is really helpful. And then the next time I'm just getting a little bit better of kind of talking that in. And then I do have a client looking for a flip house, which is a difficult task right now, but it has been kind of fun. And it's been really good to be on the MLS and clicking around, setting up searches, really understanding that, and then working on comps and things like that. So getting good practice with that.
It really is a field you learn by experience. You know, yes. We can take these classes.
Okay, what time?
I got it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. We can take these classes, we can learn all sorts of paperwork, and we do all that, but the real learning is when you're face to face doing it yourself.
Yep.
And then you got to hope you can still remember what it is you learned the last time when you need it. So,
Exactly.
so good. Well, I want to go down the list and see how people are doing with their proactive activities. And so, how about you, Allie? How are you doing?
Well, we had a slight hiccup. We had COVID in our house for the last few weeks. And yesterday was the day to re-enter the world. And we tried it and I didn't like it. So I came back home. Um, but so I haven't really been writing notes just because I don't know how someone would feel receiving a note from me knowing I have COVID and I touched all of the papers they're holding. So I kind of paused on that for a little bit. But I have been doing a lot of private messaging and texting with people that I've worked with in the past or have randomly sent me a house asking about it. So I kind of reconnected with some of those people. I'm also looking specifically for a property in Fremont with 10-foot high garage doors. So if you have something, please send that to me because that is very odd. So I've also added quite a few people to my database. This year for our pie party, we sent out a link for our clients to fill out to select their pie. And in that, it also gathered their email addresses. So I got to go back through my database and add in email addresses for everyone. So I feel like now my the email that we do through the Buffini CRM is going to be a lot more effective because I have a lot more email addresses now.
That
So
makes
I've been working on pairing those up, which is exciting. Plus just spending time in my CRM, I catch things or I add pet names or things that I hadn't added before. That's what I've been working on.
Again, that's refining, always opening it, always refining it. If it's a tab in your computer, it should be open just like next to your Gmail, just because your email, because you're always, adding and subtracting and changing. Cool. Well, good luck getting back into things, Abby. Starla, how are you doing? And tell us about your activities. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get going?
Well, it didn't help that I was sick for the last 2 weeks either. And at Ortho, Nebraska, it's our busy season, so we've had to pick up some extra shifts. But I've been working on my CRM. And, with this day of technology, I have a lot of emails and phone numbers, but not so much addresses. But then when you said, oh, it gives you a reason to reach out, it's like, oh, yeah. So just, tell them what I'm doing new and that I would like their address and, I'll send some fun things their way. And notes, working on notes. I have terrible penmanship, though. So hopefully they can read it.
Have you gotten a note from me? So, barely read it, but I still do them.
Yep. And business cards. I like handing out my business cards. I've done that at work. And, everywhere you have, you meet someone, you have an opportunity to connect with them. And Popeyes, when Carol was talking about, the little Popeyes they did for the hoses, so they didn't freeze, not the hoses, but the
the bibs, those bibs.
It's like, oh yeah, we can kind of make up our own. And with Mary Kay, we have these awesome little hand sanitizers. I thought, what a good time to get some of those and hand out some of those as Popeyes hand sanitizers. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. Well, good for you. I know I was talking to your mentor the other day, and she was just saying that you inspire her because you have your hands in so many different things. And she's like, I don't know how she can keep up, but she's doing it. So
well, sometimes I don't feel like I'm keeping up, but
well, you seem to
it's
be.
fun.
Well, let's move on to Alexis. Can you tell us how are things going for you? How are your proactive activities going? What's working, what's not working? And before I stop talking, Carol is now back in the room. So we'll finish going around. And then I think we'll probably start talking more about the money things, because I know Carol has stuff to talk about.
We're going to talk about growth a little bit, and then we're going to let Ben take the whole money thing, but we'll touch on it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you resume control, but we'll let Alexis talk for now.
No, please do.
Things are going good. I've a few people that kind of have dropped off have come back into my plate again for just different circumstances. Still trying to build up my CRM and fill in some missing pieces just by contacting people that I haven't talked to in a while, and which is good to just reconnect with people that I haven't seen or talked to since really before COVID started last year. So yeah, I'm just trying to chug away at contacting people and just reaching out and making more, I'm kind of a homebody a little bit in that sense where, but I'm reaching out and it's feeling good to do that.
I understand. Is there any particular type of proactive activity that you struggle with, like more than the others?
Notes. I'm really bad
Oh,
at notes.
okay.
Yes, I'm more of a, I like to like text or call people. I don't like to write notes. I don't know why. I don't know, because I don't know what to say in them.
We're all different. Everybody's different. Yeah, no, just curious. Go. Well, those are important ones too. Well, keep it up. Keep it up. Hey, let's move on to Missy. How are you doing? What kind of activities are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm kind of struggling. I have a full-time job, and so trying to get all of these activities in, with the classes, and then also just kind of learning like the other programs, like messing around with Paragon and just different stuff like that. I put together a database, which I actually spent a lot of time on. And I did come up with I think, so my activities have not been on schedule. I'll admit this with the Buffini ones, but I did do my own. I didn't use their personal letter, but I did my own personal letter telling everybody that I've gotten into real estate, and then added the buyer and seller. I made a double-sided buyer and seller, why I use an agent, and use that as my first mailing. And I think I sent like 175 of those to friends.
Great.
So, collecting phone numbers and emails. I've spent a lot of time on that, but I still have like probably half of those contacts I still don't have emails and stuff for. So I don't know. I'm watched with April Tucker's stuff, and how she uses Facebook. I have been trying to get my personal, my business Instagram and my business profile set up, and my Facebook business. And I think, I don't know, I might try using those maybe more than the other ways of contacting people, just because I have them right there. And it just seems, I don't know. Everybody, I did do personal notes the month of October. Our team leaders challenged us to do 3 a day. So that was a lot. I didn't think I had that many friends, so it was a little challenging, but that was good to help me getting in, like just writing notes and stuff was good.
Yeah. Good for you. Is there any particular type of proactive activity that you struggle with more than others? Is it the notes like you were just talking about?
Well, so I've only done like a couple notes since the end of October.
Okay.
That was just kind of my trying to, and then I was focusing on getting this initial letter out, which went out a couple weeks ago. So then I spent a whole bunch of time on that. It's just trying to slowly, what do I do next? What's most important? So then I spent a lot of time getting my social media set up, and maybe I hopefully will figure it out and get the flow of notes, social media, update, keeping my contacts updated, eventually as it goes. It's just like one lump sum at a time. It's like kind of just focusing on small things.
Well, that is the whole point of this class. It's called 100 Days to Greatness, because the whole concept and hope is that in that 100 days, you're going to try to set up all those systems, or at least to get a good foundation in all of those systems. So don't worry about it not being perfect, as long as you're just getting things started, and then time blocking and going from there. So
I do plan on sending out like more like the other papers that or flyers that they had sent with the second note and stuff. I just finally got my initial one, my database. It took forever to put together. So finally just got that one out. So maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll send out the next mailing, and then a couple weeks after that, the next mailing. It's just, I'm not on the time frame of our Buffini class, unfortunately.
no, I know, and nobody ever is. It's just get it out there. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Well, cool. Well, good luck. Well, the last new agent to talk to is Carmen, and see how things are going with you, Carmen. With again, how are your proactive activities going? What's working? What's not working? Her audio is being wonky. Not working. Okay. Well, we will let you off the hook for the moment, but you can only use that excuse once. Um, so then the other one are two existing agents. Let's start with Jen. How are you doing with things? I know you're following a different path than our new agents in this class. So how is life for you and your business?
Really good, stepping up the interaction with my database. And I will say that over the last 2 or 3 years, I've always struggled with calls. Like, I don't want to do it. It's rubbish. It's awkward. But I will say that I started using them in connection to our pie party this year. And I'm getting a really good response. And I've got more RSVPs this year than I have in the past, because I'm pushing those calls. And it's nice to hear from my clients that they like to hear from me, which feels kind of funny. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I always feel like I'm inconveniencing him. Like, who wants to talk to my real estate agent? Why would my real estate agent call me when I'm not looking to buy or sell right now? And so it's just really, I will say that's been the most powerful piece I've been seeing right now. Over the last couple of weeks, I was really encouraged with, these conversations and stuff. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose?
That's true.
So,
well, thank you for that
really
reassurance. Especially it's nice to have experienced agents in this class so that the new agents can hear it. We look up to you. We know that you're a great agent, but you need that reassurance. You need people to say it's good to hear from you, because you feel like you're bothering them. And if they give you any feedback like that, it's gold. It makes you feel like you're doing things right.
Yeah. In fact, they were like, "Oh my God, how are you doing?" And I always get the question, "How's your chickens?" Things like that. So like, they're really engaged, because what's happening is they're watching me on my social media. And so they are connecting what's going on in my life. And then they're really excited. And guys, I'm only on the phone for 1 or 2 minutes. And then I just say, "Well, I just want to make sure you got my invite for that pie party. What can I get for you this holiday season? A pumpkin or an apple?" And they'll say, "Put me down for apple," because not everybody, Allie was leaning into that link. Some of my clients did RSVP through the link, but a lot of them didn't. And so I used that opportunity to pick up the phone, and it was really well received. And I was really trembling the first couple of times I did it.
Yeah. I bet.
It's natural. It's a very, very natural feeling. But yes, they love to hear from you, and we all feel the same. Like, no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter how well you know them, you always feel that way. So you're not alone. And neither are new agents or old agents.
We need that feedback and reassurance that we're doing things right.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Well, the last person in the room to talk for this would be Ben. Ben, another one of our rockstar agents. These agents would love to hear from you as to what kind of proactive activities you're doing right now.
I have been doing a lot of notes. Just events or things in my clients' lives have prompted more notes. Sometimes I feel like I have no reason to write notes, but in the last few weeks, there's just been more reasons. So I've gotten those out. I do not like making calls. When I feel like I should get better at making them, my 2 oldest clients are named Cindy and Vicky, and they're probably both close to 80. Which is not old. That's not old. They're just the oldest, Carol, just so you know, my oldest one. They're a real easy warm-up call, because they have nothing to do except field my call, and they're happy to chat. Tell me about their heart issues and their knee issues. And it's such a great warm up to me, because I say, it just kind of gets me warmed up to call others.
Good point.
I called another client to wish him happy birthday, and he's a good friend too, but I still struggle with it. Subsequently, after the great phone call, he texted me this morning and said, "Hey, can you come to our house on Friday at 6:30? I have to take my wife to a procedure. Can you wake up our kids, give them breakfast, and then take them to daycare?" And I said,
"Oh my
sure."
God.
But they're like some of my great friends, so they're in a different category than just regular clients. I wouldn't go to everyone's house and wake up their kids, but I will for these people. Also, because of these people, I've sold about 75 houses in my career, so I'll do anything they ever ask me to.
Wow.
So that's part of it all. And I'm delivering about 30 pies. I think I had about 30 RSVPs for the pie party, but I'm going to spend all day Tuesday taking them to people's houses. So that'll be real nice. I'll have more time for them. And lastly, I'm going to get into the washer fluid pop buys because we're getting right into that season. But I'm also going to get not Ziploc bags, but heavy plastic small bags. And I'm buying the 50-pound bags of the driveway salt melt, but I'm going to divvy them up into kind of cuter, smaller bags, and I'll tie a ribbon around it. So then they'll get the washer fluid and they'll get like a one-time use,
Good idea.
emergency driveway salt. Because most people, you don't need it. You buy it after the first snow, and the first snow is probably the day you have a bunch of guests coming over for a party, and you're just caught without that.
Yeah.
So they'll get enough for one-time usage. So I think
Great
that'll be
idea.
kind of a nice thing I've never done before. There you
That
go.
is a great idea.
I love that as an additional idea because we've never done the salt because it's so heavy.
Right.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know it's 50 pounds.
Yeah, well, and we're gonna do the fluid again this year. We didn't do it last year. We're gonna do it again this year because we got Max that can go carry him around. So yeah, that's a really good addition. And you're absolutely spot on with, you never have that little bit that you need on that first snow. Yeah, it's
Right.
really
And washer
good.
fluid is like $1.85, which is
Yeah.
pretty economical. Well, a 50-pound bag of salt is like $10, and I bet I'll do about a pound or 2 pounds, in every bag with the ribbon. So talk about an economical Popeye. It's a lifesaver
Yeah,
to help someone in a bind. I mean, like, we don't have salt and it's all sold out and we need it tonight. And it's going to be like, I don't know, 40 cents a Popeye. I don't think there's ever been a cheaper Popeye than 2 pounds of driveway salt. So
That's
hey,
a
Ben,
good-
will you teach them a little bit about, the first thing that you said was you've been doing a lot of notes because there's a lot of reasons to. So will you talk a little bit about how you gather that, either from things you see on social media, you hear something's happening for them, and talk a little bit about that to give them ideas. Somebody said they struggle with that, figuring out a way to, like, what do you have to write about? I think it
Yeah.
was Alexis.
absolutely. Some are some real estate specific events, meaning clients who write reviews on my Facebook or Zillow page, I will respond to, which on Facebook, they get notified just like you respond to someone's comment. So that's a nice little touch back after they write that review. But then I write them a thank you note for that review. So some of my flurry of notes was because I had, 10 or 12 reviews I had not responded to. So they heard from me online. Then they heard from me from the note with the little gift card. So I had some of those. The phone calls I made, I followed up with notes. Also, I am a Dave Ramsey ELP, which is an endorsed local provider. Dave Ramsey's a Christian financial advisor on the radio, real popular. And so people call me because Dave recommends me to them. And I'm just working on it. I've just started this morning, a note to every ELP client I've ever had that just says, I'm especially thankful to be an ELP and the people it brings into my life, the like-minded, great people, and you're some of those people. So thanks so much for, trusting me when you did. And if I can do anything to make your home ownership better, please let me know. And that's not if I can help you become a homeowner or a new homeowner or a different homeowner, let me know. It's if I can help make your current home ownership better, please let me know. So that's kind of a carve out group of people getting those notes. But I have done this year a note to every person this year I've done real estate with that just said, it's been a wonderful year personally and professionally, and you were a huge part of that, and I'm so thankful. So besides the reasons to write notes to nurses and teachers and reviews, sometimes you can just write a note that says, I'm especially thankful that you're a part of my life in a personal way. That can be your 3-4 sentences, and that can cover everybody. So sometimes I take a step back and say, I have nothing to write a note about, so why don't I just write a note that says, thanks for being a part of my life? And that usually covers me until I get some better reasons to write a note.
And you can personalize those. So you could sit down and write 50 of those out and then personalize them and address them and send them out. And they all hit the same spot for people.
Right. Oh, one more
Great
thing
advice.
I'll add just about client, interactions and things. I've been meaning to do it a long time, and I wanted to post photos of all the people I recommend with their contact information and what they do, but contractors will not send me their photographs, which is fine. So I just made a series of Instagram stories. I made a highlight, which means it'll stay there forever. and it's just for referrals. And I listed all the one story for about each contractor I recommend, what they do, their phone number, and a little explanation of why I think they're great. And then after all that, I did everybody combined on a single story, so you could take a screenshot. And the number of people who reached out to me about that was amazing, that they said, I've been ready for that. I meant to ask you for that. You know, that guy, I love that you're still recommending the HVAC guy. He's so good. So it just, I mean, that generated a lot of social media interaction between me and maybe a dozen clients, just because I just housed all these referrals to contractors I like.
I took a screenshot of it, by the way, Ben.
Oh, well, there you go.
I mean, anybody that you recommend, I would recommend. So yeah,
Right.
It was an excellent item of value. Like that
Yeah,
shows
totally.
shows your support beyond the sale. That's fantastic.
That's all.
Is
I'm
that
gonna
it?
say now.
Is that everybody?
Sorry, yes, that was everybody.
Okay. I got two little quick feedbacks. So Melissa, you're talking about, you know, spending time and you don't have a lot of it if you're working full time, but somebody said this to me, reminded me of this the other day, and I actually reminded my son of this, who is a refiner of everything and perfectionist. And they said, done is better than perfect. Actually, I think it was my coach said, don't forget, done is better than perfect. And that, to me, that just resonated. Give me a few words that have meaning like that, and you'll get through more things instead of trying to perfect. Like even writing your own letter. How many different times do you over, you know, you write it, you say, was that the right sentence, and go back and change it. Just them hearing from you is where the value is. So that's for you. And then for the pie party thing this month, I will tell you guys, whether you have a huge database or don't, this is the month that you can take advantage of so many opportunities to connect with your clients. What Ben just said about writing the notes about appreciation, you can do that. The pie party is a super opportunity for contacts. And after a few years, this is something really funny, because yesterday we sold a house to this couple and their parents, and they've gotten pies from us the last several years. I got a text and it said, Greg, who's this woman's son, just told me about your pie offer. I didn't get a text, or don't know if we were overlooked or if we've timed out. It's what she said. We don't have to be included, but are just checking. Laura and I split the list up, and they were like, there were two Snyders, and there was one on mine and one on hers, and we missed it. So I was like, you'll never time out with us. And of course, but somebody contacted us because they are now depending upon the pie thing, which is amazing that you can think about that. Somebody's actually thinking that you're not bothering them at all. When they made their list of what they're doing for Thanksgiving, they included the pies that they're going to get from you. So just know that just as long as you keep consistent and keep doing it, it'll work. So yeah, great feedback. Anything we can help you with, or Ben can help you with, or Jennifer, or anybody that's been around for a while, please reach out to us, even if you just need a little encouragement, because that's why we help each other, agents helping agents. So great, thanks for that feedback. Tim, you have anything else before I bring up a couple of things? So there were two videos to watch this week. There was the Grow Yourself video, which had a lot of emphasis on the kinds of habits and attitudes that you have to have in order to be able to achieve the goals that you want. But that's how you grow your money, which is what Ben's going to talk to us about in the next area of AMA. So that one, I hope you guys watch that video and I want you all to have at least one question for him for feedback, or just something that you want him to talk about specifically. But I think he covers everything really well in that. The three things that I want to make sure that you guys were paying attention to were not only the developing your philosophy, which is kind of more of I believe in that I really can do this kind of thing. So I want to know if any of you have a mantra, a philosophy, something that you say to yourself that moves you forward. Would there be something that keeps you moving forward as far as your philosophy on your business? Allie, how do you do it? What do you do to keep yourself going?
I call my mom or Jen or April or Hannah and just be like, what am I doing wrong? I have nothing happening right now. And then we talk, we share horror stories. And I'm like, okay, so real estate's really not that bad. If I made it through that, then I can make it through a bad showing.
So that's your self-soothe. Real estate's not that bad.
Yeah.
If I, then I. Yes. Okay. Who else has one to contribute? Telling myself from Carmen. Telling myself anything worth having doesn't come easy. Okay. Does that work for you, Carmen?
I'll
Yes,
share.
Okay. Go, Sarah.
Well, I know some of you have heard me talk about, I love YouTube, and so I follow some things, but Carol's talked before about the Mel, oh my gosh, now I'm going to forget her name. And
Mel
so,
Robbins.
Mel Robbins. So she has this YouTube of like to kind of start your day out. And so sometimes when I've had a day where I'm kind of down, I just go and just listen to her, because I think some of it, just her delivery is just amazing. I just like her delivery of inspiration. And then I think just from 3 things that really stood out to me from the videos from Brian this week that I highlighted, of just remembering, like, I am the best person for this job. And so, and I think when he used that in his video, that just stood out to me of, sometimes being new as an agent, we may question of like, do I know all the details of this transaction? But I am the best person for the job. And then a couple other things I just really loved this week was under the attitude area, he talked about giving good energy and just making sure our energy is good and positive and vibrant. And especially in all of our interactions. And he even reflected back of, when he was working with some of those previous videos and other weeks, he had talked about, even if it's bad news, still have good energy. And I think some of it can just be how your tone and how you present it. And then the last thing I highlighted for this last week too is every day, he had talked about, you have the opportunity to upgrade your attitude. And so I just think those things were great, because sometimes, there will be a day where maybe I'm a little more down, but I just have to be patient and just think about those positive things, and always just maybe enjoy some time on YouTube.
Fantastic. Input, and association are 2 of the most important. Who you hang out with, and what you read, what you watch, what you see, what kind of conversations that you have are probably the most important and quickly moving ways to success. Because there's people who want to hold you back with them, and then there's people who get more out of watching you beat them. That is always been a challenge for me, is because I really love to watch people discover how freaking awesome they are. Like when that light comes on, that it's not them, it's really me. So that's exactly what you're saying. And whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter at this point. Is that you're actually self-soothing with that. So these are good. These are really, really good. Alexis, what do you got? What do you say to yourself? What wakes you up?
What wakes me up?
Yeah.
My kids. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I really don't have a personal mantra, really. I'm terrible at that.
That's not a good mantra.
I know. It's not. really though, I think it kind of changes. I'm like what's going on in my life kind of defines like that mantra at that time. You know, if everything's going really great, it's just like, okay, just, you know, get up, keep doing it. You're doing great. You're killing it. And if it's not, it's like, okay, well, you need to get up, you need to work a little bit harder, and you need to get back to where you were, I guess. I know
Okay.
it's terrible.
So you're in a big circle.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us one thing that you need that you're not getting from your business right now.
What do I need to do that I'm not getting right now? It's me personally that I'm just holding myself back. I think that's what's right now. I need myself.
What would be one win for you?
One win would be to have another transaction before the end of the year. Get something under contract would be a win for me right now.
Quickly.
Sorry. Oh, I said, oh, yeah. I must have cut out.
I heard what you said. I'm just wondering if anybody has feedback to give to you on how to get that moving quickly. So activities are going to move that quickly. I love the warm-up thing that Ben talked about. Call your sure thing first. Call the grandmas.
That stood out to me.
That really stood out to me because I was like, oh my God, I've got like about 10 of those that I could have as my benched warm-up people, because that is what does it. Is as soon as you get that feedback, that it's almost like somebody says, oh my God, I love you. Thank you for calling. You know, it just, it feeds your, that self-confidence piece. That's like, who wants to hear from me?
That's actually really great. Cause I strive off of that, like the people giving me, like compliments. So I think calling somebody like that and making me feel like, oh yeah, you really are doing a really great job. Go on and call, and then you work up to the harder person to connect with.
Yeah. So confirmation and confidence comes from confirmation that you're okay. I know that's something that I need because I've been in coaching for so long, and my profile shows exactly. I don't need like something back. I just need confirmation that what I did was good and it was impactful. So learning more about that, about yourself. And that's why he spends a whole session and module on growth and how you get there. And you get there through your attitude, you're in charge of it, and your philosophy, the philosophy that you have. The philosophy can't be, I'm not good at that. That message has to go someplace else. And then expanding on your physical energy. And that's through one thing that I have found with people who are very successful in this business is they're usually, they take on something physical that challenges them to the max, and they exercise and they do all the kinds of things that are so hard for me and for lots of people. But like Ben, you are constantly working out and have that discipline around there. We have marathon runners, the gal Kathy Martin, who is she's on all the ads for AARP now. She's 70 something years old, and she's won like a gajillion marathons and represents, but she also has a really, really successful business. So those things can go hand in hand. And with all of those things is where the growth comes from. That Jim Rohn has said this a gajillion times. You guys probably have heard it, but I can't ever hear it enough. You work harder on yourself than on your business, and your bank account will grow as your self-esteem grows. I did not get that when I first heard it years ago, that you'll double your net worth income as fast as you double your self-worth. But I'll tell you what, it goes hand in hand, but you can pretend along the way to get there. the money thing, the money matters part.
Can I pipe up with one thing
Yeah,
unrelated
please
to money?
do. Just jump in.
Only because Alexis, you said what will be the payoff for what I'm doing now will be a transaction by the end of the year, which I hope it is. But it is also okay to do prospecting activities, sincere prospecting activities, without monitoring the results. If you only wrote people notes because it got you a lead right away, I think that is not the attitude to go into it. So I trust, and I tell new agents, if you do the right things long enough, it can't not work. I know that's a double negative to be cute, but it's so true. And I liken it to exercise. If you exercise every single day, which would be the right activity, and you ate correctly every single day, which is the right activity, and you did it long enough, you couldn't not lose weight. It just would be physically impossible to not get healthier because you're doing what's right and you're doing it long enough. And I think the same is within real estate, though many people will do the right things for a short amount of time and they don't get the results. Like, I didn't get a sale this month, so I'm going to stop. Or they do the wrong stuff, which is, I think, what I did, farming and stuff that just really didn't fit me. And I did it a long time and it also didn't work and I stopped. So it's doing the right things long enough. I trust it can't not work. So I say that so if you don't get a closing by the end of the year, you don't say, well, being real nice and kind and sincere to people and adding to their life and brightening their day, clearly that's not worth it because I didn't get a sale, because the sales will come. It just might not come. I mean, honestly, to close something, I may not close something by the end of the year, and I'm 5 away from hitting matching a benchmark from last year. But I can't fabricate 5 buyers or sellers in the next 10 days and force them to do something they don't want to do. But the year's been fine because I have done the right things long enough. It's just not always on our exact timetable. So don't stop doing what you're doing if the transaction doesn't come this year, because it might come 5 of them in February, and that'd probably be better anyways than to get one that you forced in this year.
Nope, that's great advice. Thank you.
Perfect advice. Anybody want to add to that? It's hard to be patient.
The one thing, does Brian Buffini use, and maybe it's been in one of these videos and I'm just overlooking it, but does he use the water spigot analogy in these recent videos?
He doesn't anymore.
I just think that's one of the best analogies you could
Yeah.
do when it comes to proactive activities. And what that is imagine like a water spigot out on a farm. You know, it's going all the way down. And if you ever pumped one of those things, you walk up to it and you pump it. And you sometimes have to do that 10, 15 times before anything comes up. Well, what's happening is a vacuum is being created and the water is being sucked up the pipe. Well, what you don't realize is at any moment when you stop pumping it, the water just goes all the way back down, just completely drops. But so you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it. But one thing is that also once that water does start coming out, which hence referrals and your business, the pumping gets easier. You don't have to do it as hard. So it really is honestly a fantastic analogy to your business. You can't even see the results. You just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And then it flows. Just flows. And Ben is an extremely good example of that because he was doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it for years. And he was a newer agent like you guys, and he was doing really well. And then he exploded to be our number 1 agent.
Consistency.
And it's all referral. It's consistency. It's
Total
referral.
consistency. It's the, and I had written this down too from reviewing the videos again. It's a millionaire mindset that is work like a hunter in the short term and think like a farmer in the long term.
Right.
And that includes creating a business that, and I'd write that down if I were you guys, if you have not already, work like a hunter, think like a farmer, because that's how you start thinking in terms of bumper crops. So great, you're going to plant a crop for this year and you eat it and it's gone. But what if you have another one right behind it and another one right behind that, or one that comes up in the spring, one that comes up in the summer, and then one that comes up in the fall? That's where you get to. If you keep pumping the well and pumping the well and pumping the well, all of a sudden the water starts flowing and you've now created something that you don't have to redefine and redevelop every single year. It's the hunter farmer mentality. And then that creates the pipeline, which is what Ben was talking about, and what I was hoping somebody would speak to, is that the work that you do is creating the pipeline that may not pull out a transaction that's going to close by the end of the year, but boy, it'll sure start pulling out transactions that'll give you hope and a plan to start your next year. If you walked into next year with a pipeline of even 10 people in your pipeline that were qualified as being A pipeline and B pipeline, let's just say A and B pipeline, because otherwise they don't even need to be in your pipeline. But A's are, to me, are people who need to buy in the first quarter. B's are people that need to buy in the second, third, or fourth quarter. That's it. And I want to move them to an A very quickly, but they're people that I can move through, and they're in the pipeline. If I've got some pipeline, I don't spend New Year's going, oh shit, now I have to recreate my business all over again. So that's right now, it's really important that you pay attention to what you're doing. Stay in the moment right now. What can you do now, today? And how can you consistently do that enough? Exactly what Ben said. Consistently do that enough that you're building trust, you're building relationship, and you're building in a mindset where people think of you when they think of real estate, so that's when you get the calls. So those are like the most important things that I pulled out of that I wanted to remind you guys of. Starla.
Carol, I've got one final thought I'd like to tack on to that, because it's so powerful what you just said. And the other thing that I've learned is that right now, if you are pumping the well, it's very important to make sure during this quiet time that you have the system and the process in place, so that when that well does expand and the referrals start happening, because I've seen it happen. Brian Buffini says, give it 90 days of consistency. And I guarantee you, day 91, you're going to start seeing it come in. And I have personally seen that in my own business, where it was very, very quiet for a period of time, but you keep doing these activities over and over and over again. And when it does launch, you need to make sure that you have your system in place, because it's going to come fast, and it's going to come very almost overwhelming when those referrals start pouring in. And you want to make sure that you can A, give them the attention that they need, B, balance it all and make sure that you don't sacrifice, now that you're busy with your referrals, the quality time that you have set aside to put into your business every single day. So you still continue to stay in those activities every day, despite the level of busyness in your business. And then making sure that when the business does take off, you still prioritize what's really important. And I have personally seen it myself, where I stopped the activities because I got busy, and then it slowed down, and then, your business goes up and down. And so in these quiet times, it's important to create, making sure that you're systematic about how you're doing your activities for your lead generation. So
you're talking about the cultivation part. Yeah, you have a farmer mind. You have
big time.
You actually have a farm. So yeah.
Last thing I want to say, and then I'll stop. When I got my license, I could name 2 people who were going to move in the next year. If I thought of every person I knew, 2 people I knew were planning on moving, and they definitely weren't going to work with me because I didn't hardly know them, and they definitely didn't know me. I could just come up with the name. And so you probably, everyone had a better start than that. Like, at least you have a cousin or a brother or a friend that said, when the time comes, I'll hire you. So it's okay to start with literally 2 people might move, and they definitely won't use me. I just want you to know that's where the start was for me, and I didn't grow up here. And so if you know 2 people who might move and they won't hire you, you'll make 0 money for the rest of your life, unless you grow from that point. And so I just want you to know I'm producing a sufficient amount. I don't have 50 family members who hire me every year, and it's real easy. It's doing the right things long enough. And someone asked me the other day, we're all doing some of the same stuff, and why do you think you're doing as well as you did? And I finally have started saying, I think my reputation has finally caught up with me, but in a good way. And it took 8 years of doing the right things and building a reputation. but if you, whatever you do will catch up with you. I'm just glad mine finally did. So that's how you go from 0 sales a year to a reputation where people want to hire you a lot.
Sarah, did you have something to say?
I do, kind of adding on to what Ben was sharing of, I know we'll go into it in the next hour, but one of the things I took from that I heard was you had 6 transactions in your first year. And then if that's correct, what I heard, and then I guess like, where did you start to see like how did you start to see that grow from like year 1 to 2? Is it, so what I'm hearing from Nicole today is just like being consistent, and all the work we're doing right now is going to pay off in the end. But I guess I'm curious more of like what changed between year 1 and that second year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I've come to realize I don't know the magic that happens between year and one and 2, but there is no replacement for time having a real estate license.
You see her?
I mean, it's just almost like you just got to take the licks and get through it and earn people knowing you're a realtor long enough. And that's like not sexy or magic, but you just have to own your life. You have to have a license long enough that the way you talk doesn't sound like it's the first time you said things. And I wish I could explain it better, but I've simplified it to, you have to hold a license a certain length of time unless you have 17 cousins ready to buy and sell with you as soon as you get it, which you probably don't. And the other side of that is, I think in that year is when if you're going to do the right things and do them long enough, I think the time it takes just to hold your license for a year also is long enough that by doing the right things, it pays off. So that's not to say just hold your license 13 months and it'll start. You got to hold it a length of time to just have people know this isn't like a new thing I started. But as you're buying your time, holding a license is when you got to be doing all those good things. And I wish I knew what the good things were when I started, because I didn't. And I think I could have pushed it a little quicker, but I didn't. I did not know the new thing. I built beautiful flyers and open house pamphlets, and I'm going to build a website because it felt like I was doing real estate. It wasn't doing real estate. It was making me feel like I'm not a failure because at least I'm busy for 9 hours a day. Except I should have just wrote people notes for 54 cents. But I was doing I was spinning my wheels, doing the wrong stuff. So I'm glad this class exists, so you can start doing the right stuff now instead of two years into it.
When you know better, you do better. That's
Real.
that's a really good mantra. When I know better, I do better. I had one other thing that I wanted to say before we signed off here. All good stuff, Ben, and really, really helpful. Oh, I know what it was. This was the other thing is, and you didn't hear Ben say anything about this. Jennifer wasn't talking anything about this either. You're not selling in those first few years. You will have sales and you will represent sellers, but you're not selling. You're building relationships and trust. And that is through the kind of activities and the things that paying attention, the things that Ben was bringing up and Tim was bringing up, and you guys were alluding to that those are things that you struggle with and how to do them. Don't worry about perfect. Done is good. Actively involving yourself with building relationships and trust, because like Ben said about try to think about how many people wanted to buy or sell. That as soon as I got off of that mindset of looking for people or thinking that was who my clients were or who the people were that I wanted to build a database with, everything opened up for me. That mind shift right there of not just thinking about, well, do you think they'd want to sell their house, or do you think they're going to buy a house? Or I heard somebody say they buy. None of that, because you'll run out of family. That I know an agent that has sold to just about everybody in their family, and their business is not growing exponentially from that. So you'll run out of I had 0 family here, and the family that I did have here was my wife's family, and they already had established realtors. So you can build it based on one relationship at a time and consistency, and not selling, because you don't sell until you've got somebody that asks you to represent them and you get a check, then you've sold something. So yeah. So we're going to go on to AMA. Take about a let's make it a 7-minute break because it's 2 minutes before noon right now. And then Ben's going to take over the class, and we're just going to let you run with it, Ben, on money. Everybody come to the table with at least one question when you come back, and get ready to be a millionaire in your mind first.